music list. Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'm really excited because I'm doing a reading wrap up. I feel like a booktuber. I'm not, but I used to watch booktubers when I was younger, and now booktubing is kind of popular again. I was like, this is my moment to make my 12-year-old dreams come true, you know? So today I'm doing a February reading wrap up. It's not a huge stack, but for me it's like pretty good. I read 6 books in the month of February, 2 of them being part of a series. Okay, so the first book that I read in February is Happy Hour by Marlo Granados. I don't know if I'm saying that right. This is like a coming of age story about this young girl that's living in New York, and her best friend are like super broke, dangerously broke. I genuinely don't know how they don't have anxiety. Well, they do have anxiety throughout the book, but I would seriously like be moving back home how broke they are in New York. Like New York is expensive, so I don't know how they are doing this, but I love the writing of this author, and this is actually her debut novel, so I was really surprised when I found out that this was her first book because the writing is very like poetic, very detailed. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. I can't wait for this author to write more stories. Okay, so the next book I read was To Love Again by Danielle Steele, and this book just Danielle Steele's writing style. So this is about a couple that has a high couture line of fashion in Rome, and essentially something happens to her husband and it takes her through the grieving process and, you know, a new love interest. I'm not gonna really say much, but classic Danielle Steele. I gave this a 3 out of 5 though, because I have read better romances and just better books by Danielle Steele anyways. It's only like 300 pages, so it was a pretty quick read, and it was only $1 from the thrift store. So the next book that I read was on my TBR for a while, and I never got around to reading it just because I wasn't sure what I'd think about it, but pretty much everyone has read this book. It's called Tuesdays with Mori by Mitch Albom. I don't know if I'm saying his last name right. Oh my gosh, my cat. No, don't do that. He's trying to eat my tripod. So I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. It's basically about this professor that gets diagnosed with ALS, which is a motor neuron disease, I believe. His old student sees him on an interview and he's like, oh my gosh, my professor. And then he always told his professor that they would keep in touch, and they really haven't. It's just a really like eye-opening book. I would definitely reread this book. I've underlined like a bajillion lines because it's basically about how to appreciate life and the little things, and like you never know when you might, you know, die pretty much. So enjoy life to the fullest, and I just think anyone should read this book. Only like 200 pages. It's a pretty quick read, but it's an amazing book. Okay, the next book I read was Before the Coffee Gets Cold. I'm not even gonna attempt to pronounce this name, but I will put it up on the screen. So this is about a cafe in Tokyo that has the abilities to make you time travel, but there's a bunch of little rules and you have to drink the coffee before it gets cold. It's a really like, almost like an odd book, but it is adapted from a different language, so that might be why it's a little bit of an odder read, but it is a really charming book, and it is such a different story. Like I have never read anything that was like this. I gave this book a 3 out of 5. Could be a 4-star, but I gave it a 3 on Goodreads. The last 2 books I read this month is part of a series. The series has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 5 books, more like 4.5. And you're gonna know exactly what I mean when I say this, but A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. Yup, I am a ACOTAR addict now. So I read this book and I was like about halfway through, not even halfway through, I think I was like a quarter through, and I was like, okay, I'm in trouble now because I need to have the rest of the series. I saw the box set on Amazon and it was on sale for like 72 bucks, but I literally bought the box set because I was like, I am going to absolutely devour this series. I'm gonna see if I can explain this a little bit. It's about this girl, Farah, I think that's how you pronounce her name, but she is a huntress in the mortal world, and she kills a wolf, and then this creature comes into the mortal world and demands retribution. Turns out the wolf that she killed was actually a fairy. She gets taken into the immortal realm. There's a bunch of different courts, but she gets taken to the spring court with this guy named Tamlin. If you know, you know, okay? Anyways, I'm not gonna get into it because I don't want to spoil anything, but this book is so good. 5 out of 5 stars. This is the last book that I read for February. And when people say that this book is trash compared to this book, I was like, there's no way. I was like, there's no way that this book is trash compared to this book. Absolute trash compared to this book. Absolute trash. This book, I did not even know a book could make me feel any way. Like, I genuinely I pretty much put an annotation pretty much any single time I felt something. Like sadness, happiness, everything. Anytime I felt something or I thought something was like cute, funny, I don't know. That's how much I felt for this book. Like, I think the whole book should just be one big post-it note. It is the best book ever. As I was reading it, I could feel like the numbness I'm gonna feel after I'm done this series. I just know it. Like, after you finish a fantasy series, you just feel numb after it because you're no longer in that world. But I just finished this book last night and I'm gonna start A Court of Wings and Ruin soon. But 6 out of 5 stars. I straight up was crying. Honestly, don't even ask me where I was crying. Like, I don't even know. I remember I was just sitting there like on the couch. Tears. Tears, because it was so beautiful. I don't know. And the ending basically follows Farah again. But honestly, I can't really say much because if I say anything, it'll ruin this book. The planning that went into the series, there's so much stuff, little things that you just see that like talk about the first book. I'm like, how did they line it up so beautifully? And so now I'm reading the third book in the series and I'm so excited. So these are all the books that I read in February. Hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe if you like these types of book videos, because booktubing, if you were in the like 2016 era, I had a huge reading phase in like 2016. And I remember I used to watch booktubers all the time, and then now booktubers are like more popular again. I'm in my reading era again. And I don't think it'll ever stop. I don't know how to do an outro, so bye. Read ACOTAR.